first of all, in response to that question, because there is a little bit of confusion, I'd just like to know your view. Some seem to think that was the Prime Minister saying, no, there was no party on the 13th of November. Some people seeming to suggest that he was replying to the first bit of your question about whether he could say there was a party or not. What was your perception of what he was answering?
Well, the thing is that once you start lying, you forget what you've said. So you might not know people like this who they tell fibs and they can't remember who they told what to. And so what they do is they get very confused. And that confusion is a bit like a sort of a mask or another level of confusion to try and muddy the waters. Whatever the case is, that photo is very, very clear that Mr. Johnson led a culture of rule breaking where, while the rest of us were locked down, not being able to see our family, not being able to go to birthday parties or to funerals or to christenings, grandparents separated from their grandchildren, families having to look after small children at home, there he was toasting his great friend leaving Downing Street. I mean, you, Darren, would have had lots of friends who left GBNews and you weren't able to have a little bit of a drink up with them. And yet here he was allowing staff to go to Tesco's with a rolling suitcase which was full of alcohol. How they got past the police, who are habitually outside Downing Street whenever you walk past as a passerby, I do not know. But the culture was led from the top. Mr. Johnson continues to lead a chaotic ship. We have a number of extremely important policy areas which we need to be getting on with, whether that's the cost of living crisis, whether that's people's energy bills, all those things. And yet we have this shambolic person who doesn't seem to remember what he says from one day to the next and doesn't seem to be able to be straight with people.
Let's dissect this a little bit, though, because, you know, in that picture there is the red box. We believe the Prime Minister was literally walking from his office up to the Downing Street flat in which he decided to pop in, if you like, and to raise a glass of wine. I mean, if we were to put that picture next to the picture of Keir Starmer drinking beer, you could say it's exactly the same thing. I mean, it was in the middle of a working day or towards the end of a working day. They were both drinking alcohol, both insistent that they weren't breaking the rules. And the Prime Minister has been found not to have broken the rules in this incident by the police. So isn't there a comparison here to be made from that picture of Keir Starmer?
Today's newspaper outlines 126 separate instances where alcohol was consumed and where parties were had. They even were partying so hard that they broke the swing that baby Johnson uses, the toddler uses, to play about in the basement. The swing was broken. I mean, that is serious partying. That is getting down, dancing, whatever. And I think that report tomorrow is going to show us the extent of the way in which the culture at Downing Street was laughing at us, laughing at people when they were having one of the worst times that we've ever had as a nation, and also some people passing away, not being able to see relatives on those awful ventilator machines, and potentially spreading COVID as well. So when you ask about Keir Starmer, which I will answer now, I'm very pleased that our leader has some integrity and has said if he is fined, he will go. And I'm very pleased that he has stuck to his guns on that, and I'm proud that we have somebody who is a man of principle.
OK, and just, I mean, you know, the Prime Minister, I think, has already apologised for the culture inside Downing Street. You know, large officials, senior officials have left. It's possible more might be leaving tomorrow. I mean, it's always difficult to judge how much the Prime Minister is responsible for everyone's actions inside a building that employs hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. Just on this accusation, though, that he has intentionally misled Parliament, broken the ministerial code. I mean, again, what is the evidence that he intentionally did that? I mean, because ultimately he will, I suppose, argue, just like Keir Starmer was arguing, that he felt that was within the rules because this was a workplace and it was part of the working day.
Well, I've never known a workplace where there's 126 instances of getting drunk at work, and my boss signing off emails which say bring your own booze, and birthday parties being celebrated in the middle of lockdown. that kind of workplace seemed to exist only in Downing Street. It is the most fined workplace in the country. That includes all the, for example, gymnasiums, which were hard hit and tried to carry on, and they were fined and taken to court. It includes all the other workplaces, 126 separate instances. That is just appalling, and that is something which the Privileges and Standards Committee will look at very carefully when they examine whether the Prime Minister lied when he was asked, was there a party on the 13th of November, which we now see the pictures and know that yes, indeed there was. It was the occasion of a senior person leaving Downing Street, and Mr Johnson was proposing the toast. That is not how you or I experience lockdown. And the person who gave the ultimate sacrifice, Her Majesty, was sat in that church, and she had to be on her own. She couldn't have her children or grandchildren around her because she is somebody who believes in the principle of service and commitment to others, which should underpin our democracy, but which sadly at the moment doesn't with him in charge.
No, indeed. But we should say the Prime Minister wasn't at that event. It was a different time of the year. And, these are different parties at different events involving different people. But we're going to get clarity tomorrow, hopefully, from Sue Gray. Finally, the much talked about report.
Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.